Hello everyone, Sire here. I hope that you are enjoying your holidays. Christmas is definitely past now, but it doesn't mean we have to stop with the festivities. At least for the rest of the year, we can enjoy it. So this is the last card I'm creating using Scrapping for Less's October 2020 card kit, and it is another Christmas-inspired card. Using the stamp set, this is the same one I used for the gift tags. I'm going to use the one that says Warm Wishes. I really like this whole stamp set. It's just perfect for creating gift tags and just little embellishments, and that's what I'm going to be doing for this card. I'm using some red ink. I think it's called Candy Apple from Pink Fresh. And I'm just going to heat emboss that with some clear embossing powder. The ink was good at staying wet enough for me to do that. I'm then going to grab the gift tag, um, the smaller gift tag die, and I'm going to create three small little dies, or sorry, three little tags. Next, I am going to start getting my paper ready, and I'm going to cut this reindeer paper to about probably 5 by 3 3/4, which will be my background. I'm also going to cut a square with a stitch die with that plaid paper and a piece of the white. And they are both the same size, but what I'm going to do is kind of scatter them in the background. To create a little bit of depth and separation with these tags, I am going to glue them onto a piece of black cardstock, and I'm just going to do it just for the bottom half and just slightly, about maybe a eighth of an inch or 16th. I'm I gotta learn how to count or calculate that. I'm really bad with the 18 or eighth and the 16th. Anyways, I'm just going to round the corners slightly so that it's not such a sharp edge. I am going to do this for all three of the tags, and it will just create, like I said, that nice separation from each tag and the background that it's going to be put on. You don't need to do this. You definitely could just keep them the way they are or add some distress inks. There are other ways to create the separation, but in this case, because I was using that plaid paper, which is the red and the black, I wanted to tie in some more of that black. And since I had already been using the red for the sentiments, the warm wishes, the black was the next choice. And so that's just what I like to do. I like to just tie the colors together when I can. And so this worked pretty well. Once again, I am just going to round just the corners so that they're not so sharp. Okay, once that is done, I am going to start working on the white piece, the square white. I realize that it's a little too white for me, so I am just going to gussy it up just a tiny bit. In this card kit, we did get a stencil if you were part of the banana split. And so I really like that star snowflake part in the stencil, and I'm just going to use that with some antique linen distress inks and just add a little bit of that and make a pattern on the white. I'm not putting too much pressure. I am just going slightly or lightly across, and I'm just going to do that about 4 times. And it's actually really easy. Because of the shape of the snowflake, you can actually get it nice and tight and create a nice background, especially when it's such a small piece. Actually, I think I'm only going to do it 3 times now that I look at it. I will also ink up the outer edge or the border, and then just to mute that bright white just a little bit more, I'm going to go over the whole piece. Now, The reason I was able to do that is because I didn't get more ink on my little swab or my dauber there. I Once I had inked the whole border, I just went over it. So all the ink pretty much has already been taken off and just very little was left. So that's why I was able to go over the whole white square and not make it turn to one big color. I am also going to do the same thing for these tags. I am going to just highlight them a little bit on the outside, just where the black isn't, and then I'm going to go over the whole thing very lightly. In this case, you'll see that I will dab it on that scrap piece of paper. It's the same principle. You just want to get as much as that ink off of your stamp or your dauber or whatever we would call those things, so that it's not too much ink. It's always best to dab it off because you can always just keep adding more. But if you put too much of the first time, then you can't take it away. Now I'm going to start gluing down all the pieces. I'm going to use this one as my background. Once again, that is roughly 5 inches by 3 3/4, and that's just going to be centered right across. Next, I am going to scatter these 2 squares, and I just want them so that the tips of each corner goes flush against the card. So it will go over the background slightly. To make sure that I position it properly, I didn't press hard on that white piece. I just let it sit there so that I can maneuver it around in case it was not placed correctly. I did have these scrap pieces just sitting there after I had cut my square, so I decided that I would use that one, trim that down, and use that as a piece of background just to tie it to the card. Why I did that was mainly because I felt there was just too much, not enough separation. I know I'm using a lot of pieces here, but this just seemed to tie it in quite well, at least for me. Because I am going to be layering this on top of the other one, I did want to make sure that I didn't have any sagging. So I don't want the paper to droop down. So I took a piece of scrap blue cardstock that was just laying around, and I'm just going to keep checking to make sure that when I put this on, that I get a nice cover. I'm sure there's other ways of doing this, but this was the easiest way for me, just because of it wasn't just a perfect flat edge. It's kind of going all over the place. So for me, the easiest way to do this was just to feel it and put a piece of paper where I know it's going to fit. So like I said, so you can see I glue it down. I'm just going to test it one more time, see where I'm missing a piece, grab a little piece, hopefully my memory doesn't fail me, and then do it once more. And that works really well. This way I don't have to do any guessing, and then I won't have any of that blue showing through. If you were using a different color, for example, black or red, it would be less of a problem, just because if you made a mistake, you can kind of trim it away and it would just camouflage itself with that pattern paper. But I was using blue. That just happened to be the only scraps I had available next to me while I was doing this. Once I'm happy with that, I will just glue that plaid square right down, making sure I cover all the little blue, and then none of it will sag down. It will stay nice and flush up off the card. So this is looking really nice. I really like how this is all going together. And then I'm just going to put my tags on. I will use some foam squares just to pop it up. And the main reason for this was because I did not want to go through all that work of putting the blue paper behind so that it was all flush. It was just too many. So when you're using foam tape, it's a lot more forgiving. You can just put those squares on. In this case, I did get those from scrapbook.com. They are amazing. I highly recommend them. But any foam tape will work, any of them. But if you use the squares, or circles or whatever, you can just spread them apart, and then when you're laying it down, you just won't get that sagging as noticeable. In fact, you probably won't see it at all, just because in this case, the layers are pretty minimal. I am just going to reposition those on my card just to see where I like them. I do this quite a bit. I usually cut this out of my videos, but I play a lot with my cards. My videos usually go from an hour down to, in this case, it looks like about 14 minutes. Of course, I do speed it up by 2 times. But anyways, I do cut out a lot of me just looking and analyzing and just making sure that it's exactly how I want it. And you know what? Sometimes it actually switches me into a different direction. Sometimes my card goes in a totally different way just because I look at it and I try new things. So now that those are in, I am just going to put down that last one. There we go. Just wanted to reposition it just a slight, just so that it wasn't too unique. In this kit, there was the thread, and I decided to grab the gold thread and make some easy bows. Sadly, I think I went off camera from all of this, so you can't see me making it, but pretty much what I do is I create 2, I think what I learned as a kid was called bunny ears when tying my shoelaces. But you pretty much just make 2 loops, tie them in a knot together, and then what I'm going to do is just pull and tighten until I get the perfect shape that I'm looking for. So that's what I'm doing for all 3 of these, and then I will just trim that down. I was actually lucky that the 1 strand of golden thread was enough for all 3 of these. I was very happy with that. But once again, I'm really sorry that I was off camera. I thought I got this all figured out, but it looks like when I get really into the mode, I get closer to myself and off camera. To glue these down, I did try using some liquid glue, but that obviously did not work. So I have gone and grabbed some of my, what are they called? Glue dots. But these glue dots are a little bit too large. So what I found worked was I just cut them with a pair of scissors and into three pieces. And that was just enough to cover the bow, and I can get them stuck right on to cover that little hole. And this thread actually matched really well with that pattern that I had created on the white cardstock. To finish this card off, I am going to use some of the sequins that came in this collection. There was 2 bags, one from the banana split, and then this one I believe came with this collection. So I'm just going to spread those on until they look good to me. I really like the little mix of the stars and the pearlescent sequins. They almost have a pink hue to them. Now that once these are exactly how I like them, I am just going to use some tacky glue and just glue those down. And that's my card created for you today. Like I said, this is the last one I'm creating for October 2020, and I was very happy with this card kit. It is sad that Scrapping for Less is finishing. There is one more coming for November. I should be getting it very soon. So thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that this has created some inspiration. I know the holiday is pretty much done, but it doesn't mean you can't get ready to create some wonderful Christmas cards for next year. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.